What up YouTube, Shredded Otaku here, and today we're going to be talking about none other than Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. It just came out today. Now, I guess I want to preface this by saying this video is going to take kind of a gnarly direction, but I want to start things off with the positives, so let's begin. I woke up this morning super excited to pick this game up. I've been a Pokemon fan forever, ever since I was probably in like first grade, no, maybe even before that, it might have been kindergarten, when I picked up Pokemon Red for the Game Boy here. Still have my original cartridge. Just big kid deep down, love collecting things. I think on a psychological level, Pokemon really appeals to me because that's literally what it is, right? Is you're collecting things. You're collecting these adorable little monsters, and I just love that about the game. So I woke up this morning super excited to grab the game. I even posted a little selfie in my Pokemon shirt to my Instagram. Feel free to laugh at me if you want. My girlfriend says I'm cute, so I really don't care, bro. So anyway, I pick up the game, very excited. First thing in the morning, I'm like the first guy at Target at like 8 a.m. right when they open. They didn't have the little pre-order figures that I went there specifically to get, so that kind of bummed me out, but didn't let that kill the hype. I got home immediately, plugged the game in, and was super excited to go. Right away, I knew which Pokemon I was going to get. I went with Fuecoco, and I named him after the little challenge I did for the Pocky Chips last week in remembrance to my taste buds.
I'm gonna die. Can you see my eyes? Oh my god.
Yeah, so here we go. I got my Pokemon starter, Pocky, Fuecoco, by my side. I'm rolling through, and immediately, you know, again, we're going with the positives here. The colors on the OLED screen, at least, they pop, and everything looks very vibrant and colorful. The music is great. The beginning of the game, where you're kind of just in your house walking around, it's the same thing in every Pokemon game, right? Like you have the fresh, brand new console by your new television screen, but it's kind of like that cozy, familiar feeling that you have every time you play a Pokemon game, where you know exactly what you're getting into, but it's just, you know, it's just the definitive nostalgia that you're experiencing, right? And you're seeing this slow evolution over time. Every year these games are released, and every year you're reminded of that time in your childhood when you played your first Pokemon game. At least that's how it works for me. So right off the bat, I'm going through, and I'm actually kind of enjoying it. And I was really impressed by the character creation as well. Going through the first time, it seemed like there was going to be some limited options, but then I kind of went back and fiddled with it some more, and I realized there was a much more in-depth system for creating your character, which I really appreciated. Not like super in-depth, like real RPG standards in-depth, but you know, for a Pokemon game, I was like, wow, I actually feel like this character is kind of neat looking, which is nice. So I'm going through the game, and the battle system right away is another thing that I found rather appealing, because much like Arceus, the battle system is actually quite a bit snappier. You kind of pop in and out and are able to catch the Pokemon that you want in a much quicker, period of time. And in this age of kind of like smartphones and just adult ADHD that we all kind of have from those smartphones, it's kind of nice to just be able to click through and do what you want to do in the amount of time that it should take. Going further a little bit more, I went through and I discovered the open world aspects of the game, and I met the legendary Pokemon, all these things. And the open world aspects, at least, were pretty refreshing. You know, it's nice to see a Pokemon game kind of evolve in this way and almost give you that feeling you had as a kid, where it's just that freedom of movement, except now there actually is legitimate freedom of movement, and not just, this kind of sectioned off pseudo open world, if you will. Now, unfortunately, guys, this is where we have to get serious, because now I'm going to give you my real opinion on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So, a lot of these things I experienced while I was seeing all of those positives, right? I certainly didn't open this game and all of a sudden have this stark realization midway through. But immediately right off the bat, when I booted the game up, I realized that Pokemon Company still does not understand what anti-aliasing means in a video game, which is like I guess to put it in layman's terms that some people would understand, all those little pixels you see around every character, every polygon model, they shouldn't be there. You know, there's a filtering system that you can code into a program or software that makes that not look so bad. And it is absolutely not present in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. It's like, it is to the level of like PlayStation 2 graphics, the way some of these things look. So right off the bat, the visuals, I was like, oof, that is harsh, right? But I was still in the mode of trying to appreciate all these things, so all of those, nostalgic feelings were still present. Now, going forward into the open world sections of the game, immediately I looked around and was like, because the stutter and the frame rate issues were so bad that it literally just felt jarring. Like any amount of immersion that I was experiencing was immediately ripped away from me as I realized that just the simple act of moving my camera was literally going to make the game slow down. So I did a couple test runs here. I ran it initially. I was running it in handheld mode and seeing some of these issues. So I thought, okay, maybe if I put it in the dock, and the Switch has all these different upscaling capabilities, and maybe it'll run a little bit better there. Nope, it ran significantly worse. And in fact, all of those stuttering issues became so pronounced that it literally, like, it was not just jarring, but almost disorienting in some spots where I was amazed at how bad it looked. So then I went a little bit further. I have this external upscaler that I use for my Nintendo Switch because even in the modern era of upscalers in the TV, the 1080p rendering of the Switch upscaled to a giant screen like this does not look great. So I have this external upscaler where I can turn down the resolution on the Nintendo Switch so that the actual Switch model is not upscaling anything at all. And then this external thing that I have is doing all the upscaling for me. So by doing that, I can turn down the resolution as far as I want and get the same visual performance on the screen here. Now, my theory, and this works with most other games, is that by taking all the stress off the hardware, you should be able to increase the frame rate, at least to some extent. I've seen it with Xenoblade, for example. The battles, there's like no slowdown when I do this. So I did that, and I realized that had no effect. Like and anyone that's already played this game knows exactly what I'm talking about. That initial stutter when you start a battle, or just anytime you move you move at a pace of more than half a mile an hour through the open world, that slowdown and stuttering that occurs, it is still present, which tells me that this is something that is just very, very badly coded. Like, this software is just rushed, absolutely, like, unpolished is honestly putting it lightly, right? Going further into just like the aspects of the game itself, and I'm so sorry to everybody if I feel like I really wanted to love this game so much. And obviously, I'm a huge Pokemon fan. And maybe that's why this hurts so bad for me. I haven't been this excited for a Pokemon game in a very long time, if I'm being perfectly honest. Pokemon Sword and Shield, I really, right off the bat, just looking at what was going into this, I was like, okay, Pokemon Sword and Shield, this is Game Freak's first try at a Nintendo Switch home console game. It's going to be kind of rough. And they even said that going in, So I really didn't have high hopes for that game, and I ended up enjoying it quite a bit. Then the next installment that they released, Arceus, we saw some of the footage for that leading up to it, and it looked pretty bad. Like, it looked like PS2 graphics. And so again, I didn't have any hopes for that going in at all, but then when I picked that game up, I was so pleasantly surprised because Arceus runs buttery smooth. It felt like Breath of the Wild, the way you were just kind of running around and seamlessly performing all these actions. It felt so snappy and fresh, and I was literally talking to people so excited the next day after having picked that game up, and was just so pleasantly, enthusiastic once again about the Pokemon series as a whole. And after having had that experience, I was so hyped and so ready for Game Freak to deliver on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And I really felt like this was going to be kind of the crown jewel of this generation for them. They've had plenty of time to work on the hardware. They had their first run. They had their second run. Now this is their third run on the console. And oh my God, man, like what happened? It's just, wow. So again, sorry, I kind of sidetracked there. But as far as just the aspects of the game itself, like the gimmick of this new generation, the terrestrializing, maybe I'm pronouncing that wrong, but even that, when it was introduced, it was just so ridiculously underwhelming. The first time you see it, it's in your second battle with your rival slash friend, and she kind of pulls out her Pokemon and is like, just does it randomly. And it's like, oh, you don't know what that is yet, but here we go. Like, let's do this. This is this crazy thing that I can do. And immediately, like, my move landed, and her Pokemon just died. And then she was like, well, I'm going to teach you to do that later, so don't worry. And I'm sitting there like, not only does that look terrible and stupid and just not cool at all. Like, there's nothing cool about your bedazzled Pokemon, but I just one-shotted it. Why do I want to, like, why? What am I excited about? Like, what? Like... And then it got even worse, because then you go into the first like really kind of intensive, not intensive at all, but in terms of like Game Freak's capabilities, intensive kind of compacted area with a lot of different things moving around, which is the school that you then proceed to go into to learn this terrestrializing technique or whatever. And then the performance dips even further, where like, I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about when I say that silhouette effect that occurs whenever you see like any kind of polygon or moving object in a video game that's really far out. A lot of times they will hard code it into the game to where the frames are reduced so drastically that if you look close enough, you'll see that it's almost like a silhouette moving, and it looks super weird. It's like I don't know how to describe it or really articulate it any further, but it's basically, it just looks like a piece of paper just moving like a claymation or something, you know? So when you go into this, town, and there are things not only just popping in all around you, like just so blatantly that it's disgusting, but the things that are popping in are all experiencing that like silhouette effect. So everything around you is at a different frame than you are, and it is so disorienting. And any amount of immersion whatsoever that you might have had walking around this complex, this academy is completely broken. And it's supposed to be like this cool massive school, like go explore, do all these things, and it's just like, it's so ugly. it looks laughably bad, like absolutely terrible. So yeah, I mean, my honest opinion of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is that this game was rushed out the door half-baked, and it is just honestly sad that we've all kind of taken the bait. Now that I'm done with my hype, anger rant a bit, I'll explain why this happened. Because it's, so those of us that are familiar with the Pokemon franchise, we all know what occurred here, right? So once upon a time, you had a company called Game Freak. And they released the red version and the blue version of Pokemon, which was originally the Pokemon Red and Green in Japan. Now, they thought that green and red were kind of weird to market in America, so they were rebranded as Pokemon Red and Blue. I'm getting into trivia here. But anyway, these games were released. Massive hits. Now, off the piggyback of that game's success, Game Freak decided to make a sequel. Now, this sequel was actually a good sequel. And let's take a moment to appreciate how well I was able to preserve my copy of Pokemon Silver that I've had for over 20 years now. But when they made Pokemon Silver, it wasn't like they were working on new hardware, but not only did they improve everything about it, they put a day and night cycle in, they put a whole new roster of Pokemon. After you beat this game, you can go back into the Kanto region and play through the entire first game, essentially, like as this new trainer. And then you fight the trainer from the first game. Like, it is an actual definitive sequel and a really, really good game. Then something happened. Somewhere along the line, I'm not going to say Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire were bad games, but off that monumental success in the early 2000s of the trading card game, the video game series, and also the anime, somebody looked around at Game Freak and thought,
I don't think the system works.
And they realized that all they really had to do was market the franchise itself. The franchise itself sells. you don't need to do much, right? Like, you push a game out, it gets bought. At this point, Pokemon is a household name. You don't really have to do a whole lot to the game, right?
Well, if it works.
It's the same concept that like companies like Apple and all these other big tech people, even Disney does it, right? Like, you're selling the name at this point, so you don't need to do anything. And honestly, it's a bad business practice to put too much effort into any one installment, because that just leaves you high and dry next year, because you're gonna sell a game every single year. I mean, think about Call of Duty. When's the last time you saw Call of Duty revolutionize its entire gameplay standard? It's never gonna do that. It's gonna trickle in these little things, and it's just the way of the world now, right? It's really sad. And it's really sad because a lot of us are going to continue to buy these games. A lot of us are going to continue to get excited. Everyone's take on this game right now is like, wow, I'm glad they went open world. I can't wait for Gen 10 and see what they do. Well, my take on that is like...
You know what they say. Fool me once, strike one. But fool me twice, strike three.
But even having said that, like, I will still get excited for Gen 10, and I probably will still buy it. And it's harsh. It's a harsh truth. It's a harsh reality for us Pokemon fans. It's really a sad day to anyone that remembers when Pokemon was a good game series. Now, with all of this said, with all of this sad talk, I will say that all Game Freak really has to do to save this game at this point is to push out an actual software patch that fixes a lot of these issues. Now, obviously, the polygon count's not going to go up. The actual open world is not going to ever look like it's more than a GameCube title. And not to get back to more dramatization of how bad this game is, but it's interesting to me to see how much effort they put into the different character designs and the actual Pokemon models, right? In contrast to the open world, because it is such a stark contrast that it literally looks like a current gen character sitting in a PS2 graphics open world, and it's just super weird. But I mean, that's not going to get solved. But what can get solved is like a software update that's actually going to fix a lot of these issues. I want to be able to play this game on my TV without feeling like I'm going to have a seizure. I mean, if you're listening, Game Freak, please, like, that's a health risk, dude. I want to be able to pop into my Pokemon battle without freezing up. Like, that's really all I'm asking for here. I'm not asking you to save the world. I'm just asking you to make the software run correctly that you sold me on, dude. Like, it's not that much. But outside of that, guys, like, let's be real. The Pokemon Company is releasing a trading card game. They have to time all these things properly to line up one after the other. So this was never going to get delayed. The thing about the Pokemon series is, yes, this game should have been delayed. This game absolutely needed more polish, more time in the oven. But it's not like Breath of the Wild. You see games like Breath of the Wild or Bayonetta 3, which just came out, and it got delayed for freaking years, dude. Like, we heard about that game in 2017, and they just released it. But it came out, and it runs great. And you know why? Because Platinum was like, dude, we're working with 2015 Tegra X1 chip technology. This is a tablet. We're trying to run a really good fighting action game. Like, we have to take the time to make this run well, or that's our company's, that's our name at stake. And the difference here is that Pokemon doesn't have that luxury, because again, they're trying to time it with all these other releases of anime, merchandise, trading cards, etc. But also, they don't have anything to lose. Like, this game still sold billions of copies. Like, the Metacritic score is currently sitting at a 77, and it's on its way down, which is a lower score than the previous installments of the Pokemon series. I'm not sure if that's the lowest score, but in terms of, like, Pokemon, it's not great. But it's still gonna sell. It might be the best-selling game in the series of all time, because every time they release a game, it sells better. The name and the brand becomes more and more of a household thing. I'm stumbling over my words because I'm getting so excited here. But you guys understand what I'm saying, right? Like, you're buying the name, right? It's not about the games anymore, and that's what's really sad here. So, it is what it is, and we've all been duped once again. I do really hope they push out a software update, and I personally am still going to play these games. I still am going to try my very hardest to get excited and push through, you know, the almost having a seizure moments, and just see if there's anything in this game that really makes it worth my time. Also, I will say that one of my favorite parts about this series is the community aspect of it. So if other people are excited about this game, if other people are having fun, that's really going to help me to have fun. So maybe if you guys want to share in the comments what you do enjoy about this game so far, that would kind of help me feel better. But also, I picked the double pack up, and my girlfriend's going to be playing Scarlet this evening. So I'm trying to record this video as soon as possible, because when she gets home, I'm going to hide all of my disgust for this game, and I'm going to let her play it and form her own opinion. Because Pokemon to her is her absolute favorite franchise, and I really don't want to see her get let down. I would love so much if she booted this game up, because she's not someone that I've ever seen dissect a game for its technical performance, and I would love to see her enjoy this game. So I'm going to hide all of my feelings completely and actually act the opposite and hope that she's able to enjoy it. And if she's able to enjoy it, I will as well. You know, my favorite thing about the Pokemon series is just being able to trade back and forth, talk to other people about it. So if that works out, awesome. Still not an excuse for Game Freak at all, and you need to fix your stuff, dude, but that'll be okay. And yeah, guys, that's where we're at with Pokemon. I'm sorry if you were looking for a hype video. I'm sorry if you were excited for this game and now I've kind of turned you off of it. There's been so many other videos and talk about this at this point that I feel like it's kind of common knowledge. I just had to say, you know, my piece and really give my opinions and thoughts on it. And also just some insight into what's, you know, what should happen, what can occur, what is going wrong, all those things. So yeah, that's where we're at, guys. Hopefully next time will be better. But on the same note, as far as like, you know, things that are positive, if you want to pick up a game that is like Pokemon, if you're struggling now, if you're thinking like, what do I play, dude? I was gonna play Pokemon. Well, there's a ton of other games, you know, that a lot of people Pokemon fans are kind of like hesitant to experience, that are real RPGs on the Nintendo Switch that are actually worth your time. To name a few, I would say that first and foremost, if you want just a monster catching game, check out Monster Hunter Stories 2. It's actually really, really great. You might not be familiar with the Monster Hunter franchise, but don't let that turn you off. Seriously, just check it out. Check out some videos on it. It's really cool. It runs like not perfect, but way better than this. And the gameplay is great. If you want just a smooth RPG that is great with storytelling, I would say Persona 5 Royal, which just came out recently but is currently on sale for $30 during the Black Friday deals. That is so worth your time, dude. And it's not monster catching. It's just like kind of anime-ish storytelling, but it's turn-based and it's actually really dope. My opinion is super biased on this, but Xenoblade 3 or any of the Xenoblade games, so worth your time, dude. Like, it's not turn-based. It is an RPG. The battle system will take some getting used to, but actually learning about that battle system and refreshing yourself with something that is new to you is not only good for your brain, but it might actually make you feel like you're a real gamer again, and instead of just kind of pressing buttons and feeling like you're getting kind of screwed by Game Freak. So yeah, guys, those are some games that you could actually check out right now if you are turned off enough by all of these terrible reviews and still want an RPG to play this holiday season. I highly recommend them. I highly recommend giving those companies your hard-earned money versus Game Freak right now, if I'm being perfectly honest. So anyway, guys, hopefully I didn't bum out your day too much, but had to say all that. Thank you for watching my video, and in spite of all this bad news, have a blessed evening.